Hey everybody, TG Watkins here. It is June 29th. We are almost at the end of the month. I hope you guys are doing well. Good morning, good morning. I got the headphones on today because my wife's on the Peloton downstairs and I'm saving you guys from some Whitney Houston that she's rocking out to. So anyway, this is going to be the list that we go through. We're going to be talking about, July 9th. That is when everybody's talking about the whole tariff pause situation was coming up. And is it going to be a big deal? I kind of think not. I think for the most part, the market's kind of factored in most of the stuff. Clearly, this week or last week, we saw the SPX make new all-time highs. So I don't think the tariff thing is going to be disastrous. Of course, it's going to maybe create some bumps and dips and stuff like that because we did see that Trump was talking about Canada and tariffs and trade and all that kind of stuff when he saw that the market dropped on Friday. However, it came right back by the end of the close. So yes, it's going to be something. We'll talk about the VIX. I'll show you guys that. Remember to like and subscribe if you guys want to see more of this, and that this is for educational purposes only. But this is going to be the list that we go through. And as far as the kind of just update on some of the performance that we've been seeing with the stocks, Robinhood, from our original entry, we're up 210%. And from our latest entry, we're up 14%. Rocket Lab up 50%. I wish I was in the leverage ETF, but that's not what I picked at the time. But still pretty nice, 50% for a normal stock. SoFi, we're in the leverage ETF, 27% up. BKSY, just a straight stock, up 61% on that. That has been amazing. And HIMS, this is the leverage ETF. We're down 53%. I'm going to show you that one and show you kind of the pros and the cons of these leverage ETFs just so you guys are fully aware of what happens with them. All right, so the other thing that I wanted to show you are two things. This is going to be really neat and pretty exciting. So this was sent to me by a friend of mine, and what it is it's the NASDAQ, and it is the percent change 5 years after Netscape. Now, maybe you guys remember what that is. It's an internet browser, and it was a way of kind of gauging that this was kind of the debut of the internet. Okay, internet had been around, AOL had been around, but to have an internet browser, this was kind of the next phase of the internet and for people to use it. And so what you can see is the blue line in the background is when Netscape was released, and then you can see this was the 5 years after it, and just how insane that the market was, especially when we started to get some real adoption into the internet age, .com bubble, right? So here's the other thing. This is now, lay this over when ChatGPT was put out 5 years after that. And you can see that the market is, just looking so similar to that situation. And in fact, what you can see right now, the red line is where we are currently. You can see we're pretty much at a double top, and I think we're about to break out. And you look at the blue line, which also was in the past, had basically a double bottom and then a breakout. So I think this shows that the market is obviously very strong, and just kind of the importance that AI, just the way that the internet had on society and stocks and finance and just everything back then. And that led us into the .com bubble. And hey, maybe we're going to get an AI bubble, maybe. But you know what? If we do, bubbles are fun while they last. And so we could have some really strong stuff ahead of us. We just have to watch out for, the dips. And of course, we're going to get pullbacks along the way and stuff like that. But I like what I'm seeing right here. This kind of tells me that if we start breaking out, which I think we are because we just made new all-time highs, that the market's going to be on a pretty good tear for a while. So I'm very excited to be seeing all of this. That being said, I also want to make sure that you guys are aware of the special that we're running. Now, over the next 3 months, each month for the next 3 months, I'm going to be doing a special Moxie Indicator session class breakout thing that if you guys are in part of if you are part of the Moxie Indicator trading room, you'll get these. We're going to talk about the Moxie patterns, these leverage ETFs, and how I combine them and put everything together to make the kind of trades that I do. We're going to be talking about longer term stuff because if you saw that thing I just showed you, this looks like the market's going to be good for quite some time. Seasonality also confirms that, and I think that with the market after pulling back 20% and then correcting and coming all the way up and breaking out, this is a very strong market, so I want to make sure you guys are aware of kind of the longer time frame stuff and that you guys are around for that so we can have some longer term picks, stock picks. And then we're also going to be talking about how to pick the right kind of stocks because I've been having some new people come into the class. One of them is, in particular, we've talked for a long time, and I'm helping him understand the difference between good stocks and not so good stocks and how to kind of find those because, you want these 100%, 200% type moves. So this is a deal. This is monthly. So usually we do quarterly, so this is a month at a time, so kind of low commitment if you guys just want to try it out. And it's $197 compared to our normal $247. And the financial people in our company told me, like, look, you need to really let people know about this because we've never done something like this before. They say they don't know when they're going to do this again. I'm not in charge of this kind of stuff. I just trade my stocks. And they said this is a heck of a deal, and you guys better pick it up now before they change it. Okay, so yeah, come over to simplertrading.com/Moxie monthly, and as I said, low commitment. Try it out for a month or 3 months, since I'm going to be doing those 3 particular classes over the next few months. Okay, but again, $197. You guys aren't going to see that again for quite some time. Okay, so let's kind of dive into this. This is going to be the list of things that we go through, and as we look at the SPX making new highs, pretty darn exciting. Really, really happy about that. And you can see here, yeah, nice. And the thing I want you guys to pay attention to for the next few ETFs that I show, kind of the market overview. If you remember the last few videos that I've made, I said, hey, we need to have a pullback. This market should be pulling back, something like that. I was also talking about how we should get a pullback so that we can then set up for the rally into the 4th of July. Well, that was the pullback. For the SPX, we got to pull back into the daily 21. That kind of led up into the Iran-Israel war situation, and then the bunker buster situation, and then the fact that I guess all that completed, the market said, oh, that's fantastic, great. So not only do we get the pullback we were looking for, we got the cycle down we were looking for, and we got a resolution of a big conflict that seems to be okay. And so the market said, heck yeah, let's go. And this is now the beginning of the 4th of July rally that I've been talking about and making those videos about. So this is all working out exactly as we wanted it to. And we actually bought the low on the 2-minute time frame on Monday, and we perfectly caught this move so far in the SPX. So it's been a real fun time in the Moxie room. The only other thing I could think of is that we're a little extended up here. And again, I keep thinking about this rally into the 4th of July, and I keep thinking, okay, how are they going to do this? And it seems a little frothy right here to keep running for the next 3.5 days. And so again, I'm kind of wondering, we have quarter end, month end on Monday. I'm kind of wondering if we're going to get a little sideways, maybe just a little bit of a down so that we can then run back up for the next 3.5 days. So if we could get just a little bit of weakness early this week, I think that would be great. And hey, if it doesn't happen, that's fine. Then everything else is going to be happy too. It's a strong month. It's a strong week. I just want to see if we can get a little dip to then buy and go a little bit further like that. All right, then let me show you XLF, because this is another thing that we've been talking about. And if you look on XLF, and the reason why I was talking about a market pullback over the last few weeks is because if you look at XLF, there you go. XLF actually got a bigger pullback. Notice how the SPX only went to its daily 21, but XLF, the financials, went to its daily 50. I didn't know if that's what the SPX was going to do, if it was going to do a bigger pullback, but I knew that a pullback was going to happen, mostly because if you look here, you can see that price was over the 50 and the Moxie indicator was below 0. That's what I call an inverse trampoline move. Price should not be over the 50 if the Moxie indicator is below 0. And yeah, so that's why I was like, okay, we need to watch out for a pullback. And sure enough, got the pullback right to support, and then boom, popped up again. So everything has been refreshed. It's on the tail end of good geopolitical news. And so that this is looking fantastic. I'm really, really happy with how these things have resolved themselves. And you could look at the IWM. It did the same thing. It ran into some resistance. I said, hey, we should expect some pullbacks. There we go. Got the pullback just a little bit underneath the daily 50, but mostly also back to prior support. Back up again. So IWM is looking good. And then let's see the Dow. This one had a deeper pullback. And what did it do? A little bit below the 21, not quite to the 50, kind of in the middle between these things, but you can see it did pull back for a few days and then moved up again. So again, everything's looking great. The only thing I could possibly hope for early this week is a little bit more of a pullback to help digest the just ripping 4 days that we had last week. So just a little bit of settling would be awesome. And then you could look at SMH. This has been by far the strongest sector, as we all know, because AI and semiconductors. And you can see, you look here and you kind of, it didn't even touch the 21. It really just kind of went sideways to the 8 and then kept going. So extremely strong, okay? Very, very, very strong sector. Of course, AMD, MU, NVIDIA, they're just all ripping. So yeah, having a great time with that one. And then let's take a look at breadth. This was the thing, if you guys remember I think it was actually just last week's video, if you guys want to go back and look at that. When I was talking about breadth, I said, hey, if this market is going to turn around, I said, watch this. Right there. I said, I think it's come down to a spot that's low enough for now. It has cycled down, went from 89% down to 39%. And I said, if this can hold and start to move up, then that's the bottom of the market. There you go, guys. There you go. Now we're back up to 67%. So things are good. They're healthy and they're not overbought yet. And they are on the way up for now. And really happy. Really, really happy about what that was. And we definitely saw that coming. And I posted it for you guys out there too. All right, let's go show you some of the interesting stocks. So BKSY. Absolutely amazing. Again, we've been in this stock. I've been saying that this and this were exactly the same patterns, and you can see how both of them moved pretty well. And we jumped in right here, and you can see there's the Moxie price trigger and everything. Nice bull flag up, and just up it goes. Now I will show you. Check this out. You want to see why I think we need to start looking longer term for this market? Look at the amount of volume that is coming into BKSY on the monthly chart, weekly chart, monthly chart. Look at all that volume. And look at where price is, look at where it has been, but also look where it could go. That is crazy, okay? These things are just beginning. BKSY is at the ground floor of what could be a big move, okay? And then just confirmed by all of that volume. I mean, look at this last month, a crap ton of volume. So yeah, I want to make sure that we don't miss out on something like that. And that's why I keep telling the Moxie subscribers, I said, I'm not going to get out of this. I'm only going to add to this. That is my plan. All right, and then grab, this is another one. We have taken 2 positions on this one. The first one was back here around $5. It did pull back. I said, again, long-term plan. I'm hanging on to this one. I'm only looking for places to add to it. And on Friday morning, I put out an alert and said, this is a great place to add. You can see the Moxie price trigger. And sure enough, look what it did all day. So yeah, that was a morning alert grab. I know a lot of people have been talking about that. This one, it's a pretty popular name, but everyone's like, man, when is this thing going to go? I don't know. We got some leaps on it. Buy some stock, like whatever. Set up a strategy that you got time with this just in case it doesn't like rip right now. But this looks like a great chart. That monthly chart is just incubating. It's just waiting for the right time to start growing and showing its true colors. But I think grab is looking fantastic. All right, then Tesla. I believe Kathy Woods from ARK has disclosed that she's gotten into more Tesla. Some other people are in Tesla. I know big names are in Tesla. Okay, so I think Tesla is really going to go someplace. The question is when. I did get a little bit swiped by the robotaxi bump up like that. We were in from this move before the robotaxi thing. I actually didn't think that the robotaxi thing was going to jump up like this. So I thought, hey, great, that's awesome. I did add to it. I got aggressive. I got some short-dated call debit spreads. That may not work. I need this thing to basically get over 350 by next week. I don't know if that's going to happen. So that's sad. But as far as TSLL or Tesla stock, if you have longer plans for it, I think it's going to go higher eventually. So I don't see anything wrong with it. It's still hanging out, and I do think it is bullish. I think it's just kind of waiting for whenever it wants to go, and probably shook out all the weak hands up here. So let the weak hands shake out, and then let's see when this thing can get going again. But I'm totally fine with Tesla in the future, overall big picture. All right, SoFi and SoFX. We got in here. I actually got my dad in here, and we're up, what is that, 27% on the leverage ETF already. A lot of people were talking about $15, and if it could break past $15, great, which it did. And so now I think probably it's going to have to try and get past 17. It's a little extended right now, so it could use a bit of a pullback. But big picture, this thing's looking great. I mean, again, look at this monthly and weekly time frame. This is totally in an uptrend. This thing is looking absolutely fantastic. And it's stuff like this that I want to make sure you guys don't miss. And that's why you should come in to the Moxie room, especially now, or at least sometime in the next 3 months, because we're going to be talking about these longer term setups, how to identify them, and how to take advantage of them in a market like this that I think is really good for quite some time. All right, and then Rocket Lab, acting just like its namesake. Man, look at this thing. So remember, we got in all the way back here. You can see there's the Moxie price trigger. There's another Moxie price trigger right there, and then we had just lift off, and look what it's doing. It is blowing past its previous high. So yeah, this thing's well on its way. We have not taken profits on this thing. I said let's just keep hanging on to it right here, and sure enough, we're up again, and we're up 50% on just the stock. I mean, imagine if you had options or if you had the leveraged ETF on something like this. You know, Rocket Lab's looking great. In fact, a lot of the rocket names, RDW, ASTS, you know, a lot of stuff like that are doing pretty well. HIMS. Okay, now here's the situation. Let's do this. Let me switch this over on link and do HIMS versus HIMZ. All right. So as you can see, the original stock, here was the gap lower. Here's where the stock is now. It's higher, isn't it? Okay, well, here is the leverage ETF and open, and here it is now. Lower, isn't it? Now, if you guys had watched my how to trade leverage ETFs YouTube video last week, so go watch it if you haven't. But you know that I talked about this with Tesla, because Tesla had a huge move up, but when it came back down, TSLL went even lower and didn't start retracing or tracking that very well. So this is just one of those examples. Yes, I am still in it. It definitely blew right past my stop, and I said, you know what, at this point, of course, it's only a small percent of my count. You know, I try to make sure I don't damage myself when things like this happen, because it's the stock market. And so I said, hey, let me just hang on to this, and I think it'll come back. So I'm going to kind of change my rules on this one, and we'll just hang on to it a little bit. And sure enough, came down a little bit, and you know, it popped. And you can see here that HIMS actually popped too. So HIMZ is lagging compared to the original stock as expected, but I think given that we don't have any theta or options that we have to worry about with this thing, we don't have a time frame, I can let this thing kind of just recover, and I think it'll come back up. So I'm gonna give this one a little bit more leeway and see how that works out for us. All right. All right, then BitX, this is the leverage ETF of Bitcoin, and it has done what I want it to do. We got a nice pullback into the daily 50. I think I've been talking about this. Anytime I talk about Bitcoin or whatever, I said, hey, I think things are going to pull back into the daily 50. I thought it was going to pull back a little bit sooner back here, but it's done it here. It's great. Now look at the divergence. Price down, Moxie Indicator up. Okay, this is what's telling me that this thing is starting to build for a move to the upside. And really, right through here, we're just waiting for it to start engaging with moving averages. I'm pretty happy with what's happening here. In fact, it means that it's not quite running away, and that there can still be opportunity to get into this thing if you want to build a position. So yeah, we're in BitX. I like Bitcoin. We are actually in one other Bitcoin related stock that popped up huge late last week and has massive volume coming into it. So I'm pretty excited about that name. I said I was a little unsure about some of the Bitcoin miners because they can be a little bit unreliable, but man, the volume that is coming into this one is looking super interesting. So if you guys are interested in Bitcoin stocks, you know, the miners, all that kind of stuff, come into the Moxie room, because this is what we talk about. I teach about this, and I do actively trade them, and I'm happy to trade them. I think that they're fun stocks to trade. All right, then let's talk about Google. And, you know, Google's been a little bit messy, all that kind of stuff, okay, and, you know, the market pulled back, and I guess this also goes along with what I was saying is, hey, I was expecting a pullback, and what do? Look at that, right smack into the daily 50. That is perfect. That's the kind of stuff that I look for when I want to see price pull back into support. That's fantastic. And for those of you out there who know the Moxie patterns and stuff and that, look at that, 50, 200, 50 maneuver. Again, just a perfect Moxie pattern that I talk about all the time. And so when it pulled back into the daily 50, it was like, okay, most likely that's a dip. And sure enough, buy the dip, and now you can see prices back up here. There must have been some news at the very end of the day for Google, because yes, you can see where the volume, that there was lots of volume that day, but look where all that volume came in at the end of the day. So right there at the end of the day, something must have happened. Yeah, I'm not sure what it is. I haven't done the research, but clearly something's going on. They bought it up, and it closed very, very much on the highs on Friday after that pullback into the daily 50. So I think Google is looking pretty good too now if you are interested in that particular name. Remember, there is a leverage ETF for Google if you're interested. Okay, thanks again, guys, and remember to let's see, if you guys want, we got that special running, 197 compared to 247. If you guys want to come check it out, very important that if you want to save a few bucks and make a few bucks, this is what we do. Okay, come on in, and we'll be enjoying the new people for the Moxie room. See you there. Take care.